Ms. Rodriguez?
Good evening, Mr. Superintendent, board members. I wanted to talk to you about just two things that are important to us tonight. Well, there's a lot of things that are important to us, but two things that I will hit on tonight that are important. Earlier, I guess last week, we were asked what are our priorities, and so I wanted to remind you of what our priorities are in case we haven't been clear. And the first, obviously, is the recruitment and retention of high-quality employees that will stay in the district with us and do good for our kids. We hope that the district continues to focus on bringing them here. I know that there are principals in Michigan and New York right now looking for teachers to bring to our district. But also, we also need to look at the folks that are here and look for ways to make sure that they stay here, not just for this coming year, but in the future. And also, our other priority is compensation and benefits, and we hope that the board continues to put its commitment to employees at the forefront of your deliberations and conversations. We're aware that the state did us no favors in providing a 1% increase in funding that is really less than a 1% increase in funding and ultimately is still a decrease or from where we were in 2007. That being said, we also know that the board has been very prudent and staff has been prudent in working a budget so that we do have significant reserves, well over what the state requires. And so we ask you again, what are your priorities? There should be what our priorities are, which is to have employees that are paid a wage so that they can afford to live in our community and have families in our community, and also that they can afford to take care of themselves and their children with health benefits that are appropriate. Despite the challenges of the state budget, I do want to mention, I know that one of the things that's been mentioned is the FRS increase that the districts are required to contribute. That increase amounts to about a $12 per teacher increase, which is about $60,000 in the grand scheme of things. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about the fact that there's an increase that the district has to pay. It's not all that it seems. I'd also like you to consider what level of risk you as board members are willing to take to ensure that we have high-quality teachers, that we are able to recruit and retain the best teachers and employees in the district. And by that I mean take a look at your reserves and weigh that. Can we afford to have fewer teachers in classrooms and permanent subs in classrooms, or do we need to have teachers that are paid a wage that is appropriate? So keep that in mind as you look at your reserves. Sometimes a rainy day is a rainy day, and that's what those reserves are for. We build up the reserves, we use them, we build them up. That's how it works. Also remember that the cost or passing on the cost of increased costs of health insurance to employees is actually a paid decrease to employees. So as you're looking at the entire compensation package, keep that in mind as well. Passing on that any increase would actually be a pay cut. And certainly you don't want to be the only district or a district that we can say we actually took a pay cut this year, because certainly our districts around us aren't going to be able to say that. Also keep in mind that benefits that employees are already receiving, like for example HSA contributions, cutting those is a cut in pay. And so again, that's a cut in compensation. And certainly we want to be the district that's increasing compensation and making it a better place to teach and work than less of a good place. So going into 2016 and 17, ask yourselves, does St. Lucie County want to give its employees a pay increase or a pay cut? And keep those things that I just mentioned in mind. We also need to think about putting employees first, taking reasonable financial risks, and ensure that the ones we have will be the ones that stay. And one other priority that we have as a union, and I'm just going to put it out here today, I've talked to you, most of you individually about this. We value the fact that this school board is going to hold anyone that comes to the school board with the idea of creating or offering choices and alternatives in our district. We value the fact that our school board will follow the law and expect them to follow the law and the rules, because you all have to be that stopgap between a fly-by-night group and improper actions. So we support you doing that. And I guess finally, I know that we're going to Michigan and New York to find teachers, and I appreciate the fact that we need to do that. However, we still need to look at the folks that we have, and as principals are making decisions about whether or not a teacher should go or stay, are they the right fit for my school or not, I hope that the message that you're giving to your superintendent and that he's giving to his principals are, it's better to have the one that you know and keep working with them than to start over again, because that costs a lot more money. So, have a good evening.